I bought this Ulez compliant car for £20. This is a 2007 Renault Clio 1.2. It has 115,000 miles on the clock, an MOT until October, and I paid £20 for it. Let's take a look at it, shall we? So this is actually the first time I've properly seen this car in the daylight. I picked it up in the dark in Portsmouth, having bought it without actually even knowing what it was. All I knew is that it was a 5-door, petrol-engined, Ulez compliant car with an MOT that starts, runs and drives and would get me home, and I paid 20 quid for it. And I'll tell you more about how I paid 20 quid for it later in the video, but I think you'll agree it doesn't look half bad, does it? The wheel trims have certainly seen some action, seen a curb or two, and although it's a little bit grubby, and I think someone's maybe taken a little bit of a dislike to it in the past, the key marks on the bonnet, similar on the boot as well, so I don't know how do you end up keying someone's Clio? It's not exactly a car that makes you envious, is it? But clearly someone took a bit of a dislike to it at some point. Wheel trim even worse on this side. A little bit rough. Now bearing in mind, to replace this with a genuine Renault wheel trim, even a second-hand one that was in good condition, would almost certainly cost me more than 20 quid. I don't think I will be in a hurry. But on the whole, most of this is just dirt. It's actually quite tidy. Everything seems to be here. Lights, wipers, mirrors, all that lovely stuff. Some more scratch marks on the boot there again. Guessing someone really did annoy someone at some point. But all in all, it certainly appears to be here. Similar story on the inside. Nice light coloured cloth. I haven't actually seen that before in this model of Clio. It must be quite a rare option. Always nice to have a little bit of a lighter interior than just dark, sort of black everywhere. Maybe not everybody's cup of tea, but I quite like it. But everything seems to be present and correct inside as well. Aftermarket stereo, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it seems to work. So what more can you really ask for? Bit of a stiletto hole in the carpet there, but then beggars can't be choosers after all. 115,987 miles on the clock. Obviously that includes the mileage for me driving it back from Portsmouth the other night. And oil level okay. And it starts and it runs. Fairly quiet engine wise. No warning lights on the dash. All seems pretty good. So I'm not stupid. I know you have some questions for me, and let's get them out of the way, shall we? I posted about this on Twitter on Friday when I was on the way to get this car. I got past some time on the train somehow, right? And it caused quite a stir. The original tweet about me going to pick up a £20 car has actually had more than 500,000 views now, which is insane. And almost as many replies from people trying to educate me about how much scrap metal is worth. Now, I know fine well a car like this is worth 170 quid, something like that, and scrap quite easily. Car take back, remove my car, something like that. You could sign up, get them to come and take it away and give me more than 20 quid for it. You don't need to worry yourself. I haven't ripped off some old lady by telling her, oh, you know, I'll do you a favour, here's 20 quid and I'll take it off your hands, love, and nothing like that, okay? This car was sold via a sort of bonus ball competition where 59 tickets based on the bonus ball in the National Lottery were sold for £10 each. I bought 2 tickets, 20 quid, and I won. So my total outlay was £20 and I have a fully running driving car. But 57 other entrants, or well, depending on how many other tickets they bought, but weren't winners, and therefore the person that sold the car got 590 quid for it, which as an unknown quantity, not knowing what it is at all, and just sort of saying, well, it's a car, it runs and drives, I mean, it's probably about its kind of market value. I think with a little clean and tidy, it might be worth just a little bit more than that. Not much though. I mean, it's a 57 plate Clio. its value is very limited, let's be honest. It's a perfectly fine thing though. I drove it 117 miles back from Portsmouth, and all in all, it's pretty good. The front wheels seem to need balancing. Tyres have got plenty of tread on them, so it might be worth actually just getting them balanced. Normally, by the time you've got wheels that need balancing, it's like, well, the tyres are old and crap anyway, so we'll stick 2 new tyres on it and do the balancing at the same time. But it might well be worth just chucking it in somewhere and getting them balanced. That will drastically improve the ride. So obviously above sort of 50 mile an hour, we get quite a lot of vibration in the steering wheel. Classic symptom of poor wheel balancing, and hopefully, therefore, that would be a fairly quick fix, something that could be sorted out. The heater blower resistor, well, I haven't looked to see how much they cost, but not very much. Normally, you can pick them up for like a 10 or something like that. It might be a little bit more, don't know, but I think it's quite a common fault on these, and therefore it wouldn't cost very much to sort it out. And apart from that, it really is a running, driving, decent enough car. I think with a good clean, there's not much you're going to be able to do about the key marks on the bonnet and the boot. Realistically, they would need spraying to sort them out properly, or replacement with good panels. So you're just not going to bother, right? You're going to give it a polish, which will take your attention away from them because the rest of the panel will be nice and shiny. But you're not going to do much more than that with them. Maybe touch them in, but black metallic, it's probably not going to look very good. Even if you are really, really good at touching stuff up, I don't think it'll be particularly easy to remedy. So most people aren't going to bother. At the end of the day, it's a cheap runner. It would get you around. Doesn't seem to want for much at all. I mean, I haven't been through it properly. I haven't looked at the suspension, the brakes, and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it got me home from Portsmouth. It seems to work. It doesn't overheat. It doesn't do anything it shouldn't. Doesn't clunk around. The brakes work perfectly well, and it did pass an MOT like 6 months ago, and it seems to be pretty good. I'm very happy with it. It's a bit of a bargain, but I think some people were losing their minds about how it was possible to get such a thing for 20 quid. But that was the full story. I mean, I still think it's an absolute bargain. It was a little bit weird going to collect a car where I had no idea what it was. I guess not everybody's going to travel all that way, 3.5 hours on a train to find I mean, some people might have got there and been like, no, I don't want it, but at the end of the day, it was at 9 o'clock at night, it was dark, I had to get home somehow, so driving it was the obvious choice, and overall I'm quite happy with it. One thing I will note though is that the fifth gear in this thing is incredibly short, so driving on the motorway at 70 miles an hour, you're touching on 4,000 revs, and it is so loud. Like, you're driving for hours at a time at 70 mile an hour, and your ears are bleeding almost. Like, it's really not very good. And I know it's a little 1.2 puddle jumper, right? And ideally, really intended for the city. But I've driven a lot of cars like this. I've driven cars with smaller engines than this, and none of them were as bad as this. So I feel like Renault really dropped the ball with this one. Actually, at the moment, I've also got it's a few years new. It's a 2011 Clio with the 1.2 turbocharged engine in it, and the difference is night and day. So not only do you have more power, it's longer geared, and it's just a much, much nicer thing to drive and be in. This obviously would have been the cheaper option, quite a bit cheaper, I believe, when it was new, and therefore that would be why most people would have chosen it. But having driven Corsas, Fiestas, stuff like that, same kind of vintage, same kind of engine, they're just far nicer places to be if doing sort of motorway work is your thing. It's definitely where the Clio falls short for me. But I think that answers quite a few of your questions about how I managed to get a Ulez compliant car for 20 quid. I don't really know what I'm going to do with this, to be honest. I mean, if anybody wants it for 600 quid, give me a shout, you can have it. But I think for now, it probably will be, sort a couple of little bits and pieces, give it a clean and polish, and move it on. It's not really much use to me. So it won't be staying very long. But if anybody has a burning need for one, then hit me up and we can see if we can do a deal. But well, unfortunately, it won't be 20 quid. It will definitely be more. So if you're hoping to swoop in and say, I'll give you 20 quid back, or I'll give you 40 quid or 100 quid or whatever, it's not going to fly. But thank you so much for watching. I'm making some progress with the trap car, the Ford Ka diesel that was seized by the police. I'm making some progress on the mechanicals, so there'll be an update on that coming pretty soon. Make sure you subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss out on that one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.